always put one in the brain. Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your early morning Shocktober service. Camouflage on, the hunting stew at Tartan. We're going on a hunt. Cast your minds back to 1978, the second part of what was originally George Romero's much ballyhooed, much celebrated, and highly controversial and notorious Dead trilogy. You'd had Night of the Living Dead back in 1968, then you had this, the Waiting for Godot of Gore, Dawn of the Dead, aka Zombies Dawn of the Dead in the UK. Perhaps it is my favourite zombie movie of all time. I haven't really talked about it much on YouTube as yet, because I think that original trilogy is so great, so huge. I've never known where to start, to be honest. I will, in the full length of time, cover each of the movies in depth. I have covered Day of the Dead. I've got a bub mask, I've got the Dr. Tongue mask, I've got the soundtrack, and I did cover a fair bit of, obviously when poor old Joe Pilato, Captain Rhodes, died only a few months ago, I covered that extensively as well. But I just thought this morning, hang on a minute, Dawn of the Dead, we're entering, we have Halloween is just looming in the shadows around the corner, and all sorts of things are lurking within them shadows. And I thought, well, even though Dawn of the Dead is not a particularly scary film, the concept of the end of the world, that mankind turns on itself and devours itself, is utterly terrifying. Of course it is. And it's, zombies never die, do they? You can't put a zombie down. Because The Walking Dead for years and years has been going on. There's still zombie films getting made. Zombies. They're coming out your ears. And they're great. But none surpass the originals. The shambling, slow-moving ghouls who are actually more pathetic and more victim than the humans who are trying to survive. As is proved within all of Romero's movies, it's the living who are still the major threat. The ones who pose the real issues. The ones who cannot get along with each other for survival purposes. They have to turn on each other every time. And his films detail that sort of devastating decline in morals perfectly. This sequence you hear playing behind is by the awesome Goblin. Claudio Simonetti and Goblin did the soundtrack for Dawn of the Dead, amongst a lot of library tracks that George Romero put in there as well. And of course, Goblin were responsible for some of the best horror soundtracks of the 70s, working for Dario Argento in Italy. And it was Dario Argento who brought them on board for Dawn of the Dead, because he was a co-producer on it and had a cut of the film. Now that earlier sequence there you heard was where the SWAT team, Roger and Peter, come on now, Scott H. Reiniger and Ken Faree, the great Ken Faree, in their SWAT blues have gone into a tenement building because these people are hoarding the bodies of the dead. So they've gone in with the National Guard to try and clear out the dead, because they know the dead are going to come back, and these people are clinging to their beliefs. And they meet this old one-legged priest who says, many people have died, over the last few days. In the basement of this building, you will find them. You must stop the killing, or we lose the war, And so they go down there into the basement, and they discover, and it's a really eerie sequence. The dead they've been corralled into this sort of stockade, and they're just sitting there. Some are in shrouds, some are tied up and they're trying to wriggle free, but some are eating, they've got flesh there. There's one munching on a hand, and Goblin's soundtrack, let's take it back again, it's a heartbeat. Because although Peter is of ethnic origin, he's Afro-Caribbean, whereas Roger is a white guy, but it's Peter who takes over himself because it's an ethnic tenement building that they've got into. So, and of course, there was devout racism. One of the guys on the SWAT team has gone completely blitzed and is killing everybody. He's killing the living as well, because he just doesn't give a shit, And but Peter has got tears in his eyes as he begins to just casually, methodically take out all these corpses who are still down there. You hear that moaning in the background. These freakish little electro sizzles. It's not your traditionally scary nightmare track, but it has a haunting quality to it, as much of the score for Dawn of the Dead does. Although Dawn of the Dead is more of an action movie than a horror movie, in many ways they have the most bizarre battles with the living dead in the shopping mall, and then with the bikers who invade the place. It's an outstanding movie. And I haven't seen it for a long, long time, but I know it off by heart. And he runs out of bullets, he fumbles to reload as one is reaching for him, and he's just taking his time. He's not thinking straight, which is rare for Peter, because he's the common sense, methodical one. The nose is highly trained. He's trying fumbling with the bullets, and then Roger comes up behind and goes, you see a huge squirt of blood. Look at this. It's a doom-laden sort of track. But most of you guys will obviously want to hear something like this. This is Goblin going for it. This is rampage mode. This is where they're running through the shopping mall, trying to lock the gates, keep the dead out from outside, and then go on a hunt to kill the ones on the inside. But it's a nightmarish scenario, because the dead are everywhere. And Goblin do this really punchy, aggressive sort of motif. Bit quiet, isn't it? Bongos, and this sort of voodoo chanting in the background, moaning and groaning. Cleverly done, I remember a lot of flack was given towards the score for the movie when it first came out. You were going, what the hell is it? It just sounds like a hodgepodge of stuff that's been thrown into the mix. And in many ways it is, because you've got the library tracks in there. You've got the gong, which is which is perfect for the shambling zombies. A sort of carnival, literally Brazilian Day of the Dead aspect to it. It is dynamic, isn't it? And Romero films it really well with cameras on the deck, and our three heroes are running down the aisles of the shopping mall. Screwdriver in the ear, machete in the head, heads getting blown off, rotor blades taking the tops of... Gotta be honest, that zombie, his head is huge. He's got a Frankenstein Boris Karloff, monster sized head. So you just know as he approaches the helicopter. But it is a great effect, it does look really good. Faces get blown apart in it. And of course the bikers get torn apart and disemboweled and devoured. Why? Still an unparalleled classic. And I'd say the greatest Romero movie. I would. I know some people would argue. But for me, this is the definitive George Romero movie. I love the crazies too. Put that down. Let go off. How clumsy Kilt-Man can be. Right, folks. That was a quick blast through Goblin's musical accompaniment to Dawn of the Dead, aka Zombies, Dawn of the Dead. Fabulous movie. I really need to watch that again very soon. I love all the lead zombies that you keep seeing. The one who keeps playing with he gets a different gun each time, like he's playing with the guns. The one who picks up the tire iron and starts smashing the window of the truck. You can see how they can use tools to operate. But back in Night of the Living Dead, that original zombie, the one in the graveyard, the one that goes after Barbara, they're coming to get you, Barbara. He does pick up like a rock and smashes the window of the car, which is a bit of he's acting a bit too sort of purposely. The themes were just beginning to start, weren't they? The modus operandi of the dead. That could be a new movie. Modus operandi of the dead. You had everything else of the dead, haven't you? The hangover of the dead. The gastric intolerance of the dead. What if you were lactose intolerant and you ate someone who'd just been having gallons of milk? What would happen then? And what does happen to the people that you've eaten? Where does it go? Do the zombies have a shit as well? Oh yeah. Anyway, folks, I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to see you all later. The dead are everywhere.